Christmas didn't always move this fast. There was a time when the season arrived slowly, stayed longer, and left behind memories that lasted a lifetime. You didn't scroll through Christmas. You lived inside it. Today, we're revisiting 8 Christmas traditions that once defined the season, not because they were flashy, but because they were shared. If you lived through them, you remember how they felt. If you didn't, you may finally understand why older generations say, Christmas just isn't the same anymore. The Sears Christmas Wish Book. The arrival of the Sears Christmas Wish Book wasn't just mail delivery. It was an event. It showed up months before Christmas, usually in late summer or early fall, thick enough to feel like a phone book and heavy enough to land on the kitchen table with authority. Children spotted it first. They dragged it to the floor, flipping pages at full speed, already imagining Christmas morning. Parents knew what was coming, but they allowed it anyway. The toy section felt endless. Pages and pages of bicycles, dolls, train sets, action figures, board games, chemistry kits, and things that promised to turn an ordinary bedroom into something magical. Kids circled toys with markers, sometimes carefully, sometimes aggressively, using different colors so parents could tell which child wanted what. The wish book didn't rush you. You looked at the same toys for months. You memorized page numbers. You changed your mind. You negotiated with yourself. Parents used it strategically. Santa's watching what you circle. Maybe one big gift instead of 3 small ones. For rural families, the wish book mattered even more. Sears might be the only connection to a larger world of gifts. You didn't just shop from it. You relied on it. When it disappeared, something subtle went with it. The waiting, the dreaming, the long gap between wanting something and finally receiving it. Online shopping replaced convenience. It did not replace wonder. Department store Christmas window displays. Downtown shopping districts once turned into Christmas theaters. Department stores didn't just decorate. They competed. Macy's, Kimball's, Marshall Field's, Lord and Taylor. Their windows were elaborate mechanical worlds, animated elves, moving trains, snow machines, music synchronized to motion. Families didn't walk past them. They stopped. They waited. They lifted children onto shoulders so they could see better. For many families, seeing the windows was the outing. Hot chocolate afterward, cold hands tucked into coat pockets, crowds pressed together, all staring at the same thing. The displays changed throughout the season. People came back more than once. New scenes appeared. Different characters moved. Department stores spent enormous amounts of money on these displays because they understood something modern retail often forgets. Christmas wasn't just about selling. It was about creating memory. When suburban malls grew and downtown shopping faded, the windows faded too. Budget cuts made them impractical. What remained became smaller, quieter, easier to ignore. And with them went a tradition that asked people to stop, look, and share a moment together. Door-to-door Christmas caroling. There was a time when a knock on the door in December didn't cause anxiety. It caused excitement. Groups of carolers moved through neighborhoods in the cold evening air. Church youth groups, scout troops, families bundled in coats and scarves, carrying flashlights and songbooks. Homeowners expected them, some even prepared for them. Cookies were ready. Hot chocolate stayed warm on the stove. The singing wasn't perfect. Sometimes it was off-key. Sometimes people forgot verses. That didn't matter. What mattered was the surprise. The sound of voices drifting up a quiet street. The feeling that your neighborhood was alive. Caroling connected people who otherwise barely spoke. You recognized faces. You waved later in the grocery store. Concerns about safety, privacy, and changing lifestyles slowly ended the tradition. Gated communities, apartment buildings, and busy schedules made spontaneous caroling impractical. Today, when it happens at all, it's planned, scheduled, contained. And that simple magic, someone singing just because it's Christmas, is mostly gone. Bubble lights on Christmas trees. Bubble lights didn't just glow, they moved. Each glass tube contained colored liquid that slowly bubbled upward when heated by the bulb inside. They took time to warm up. They didn't rush. Children stared at them, mesmerized. Some bubbled fast, Others barely moved at all. They were fragile. They broke easily. Parents worried kids might touch them or knock them off the tree. But when the lights finally started bubbling, the tree felt alive. Unlike today's LED lights, bubble lights were unpredictable. They flickered, they heated, they had personality. Energy concerns, safety regulations, and new lighting technology eventually ended their widespread use. Modern reproductions exist, but they lack the charm and the danger of the originals. For many, bubble lights are remembered not just as decorations, but as something you watched quietly while the room filled with warmth. Sending Christmas cards to everyone. December meant cards, lots of them. Families kept address books specifically for Christmas cards. Names were crossed out, new addresses added. Dining tables turned into assembly lines, cards stacked neatly, envelopes addressed by hand, stamps pressed carefully into place. Some families included newsletters, typed on carbon paper, detailing the year's events, new jobs, new babies, graduations. The mailbox filled every day. Cards were displayed proudly on mantels, walls, and doorways. The more cards you received, the more connected you felt. For many people, Christmas cards were the only contact they had with distant relatives or old friends. It mattered. Email and social media made communication instant, but less deliberate. The effort disappeared. The ritual faded. Now, most households send only a handful of cards, often to elderly relatives who still expect them. The season became quieter in the mailbox, and something warm went missing with it. Real candles on Christmas trees. It's hard to imagine now, but real flames once flickered on Christmas trees. Small white candles were clipped carefully to branches. They were lit briefly, often on Christmas Eve, while everyone stood watching. No one left the room. Buckets of water stayed close. The tree was never unattended. The light was soft, warm, alive. Electric lights existed, but they didn't compare. Candles made the tree feel sacred, almost ceremonial. Fire departments warned against the practice for years. Insurance companies eventually refused coverage. By the early 1970s, most families gave it up. The risk was too great. But for those who remember it, the memory isn't fear, it's beauty. A quiet moment when the entire room glowed. Christmas morning simplicity. Stockings weren't expensive. They were traditional. Oranges in the toe, mixed nuts in shells, ribbon candy, a few small toys. Children cracked nuts on the floor, peels piled up. Nothing beeped, nothing needed charging. Presents weren't rushed through. Each gift was opened slowly, wrappings saved or burned later. There was time, no schedule, no notifications. As gifts became more expensive and complex, stockings grew larger. Simple items disappeared. Christmas morning became louder, faster, and shorter. What was lost wasn't generosity. It was pacing. The sense that Christmas didn't need to overwhelm you to feel special. These traditions didn't disappear because people stopped caring about Christmas. They disappeared because life changed. These traditions asked people to slow down, gather, and participate, not consume. And that's why older generations remember them so clearly. They weren't just things you bought, they were things you did. Christmas didn't end, but a certain version of it, shared, patient, and deeply human, quietly faded away. And for those who lived it, the memory still glows.